You know, you've probably seen his symbols around, maybe on delivery packages or even on athletic shoes. But who really is the Greek god Hermes? Well, today we're going to peel back the layers on one of the most fascinating and honestly misunderstood figures from Mount Olympus.
So let me ask you, when you picture him, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably the guy with the winged sandals, right? Kind of like the original express delivery service for the gods.
And look, that's definitely part of his story. But thinking of Hermes as just a messenger, that's really only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Underneath the surface, he was so much more. We're talking a cattle thief, a master trickster, and even a guide for souls into the great beyond.
To really get who Hermes is, we have to go back to the very beginning. See, his whole identity as a trickster wasn't something he grew into. It was basically coded into his DNA from his very first day on Earth.
The story goes that Hermes was born at dawn, tucked away in a remote cave. He was the secret son of Zeus, yeah, the Zeus, king of the gods, and a nymph named Maia. So right away, he's an Olympian, but he starts his life kind of on the fringes of things.
And this is where the story gets just wild. As a baby, and we're talking mere hours old here, he stumbles upon a tortoise. And what does he do? He crafts the world's very first lyre from its shell and just starts playing. I mean, talk about a prodigy.
But wait, he wasn't done. By nightfall, this newborn god had crawled all the way to another region and stolen the entire herd of sacred cattle from his older half-brother, Apollo. Get this, he even made the cattle walk backwards to hide their tracks. This is not your average baby.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't some modern fan fiction. The ancient Homeric hymn dedicated to him describes him exactly like this. It celebrates his mischievous nature as a core part of who he is. He is literally the original thief at the gates.
So, with an origin story like that, it's really no surprise that Hermes didn't just have one job. He was the ultimate multitasker, a god with a portfolio of responsibilities so diverse that honestly, they often seem to completely contradict each other. I mean, just look at this resume. He was the protector of heralds and travelers, but also the patron saint of thieves. He watched over merchants and legitimate business, but was also the guy you'd pray to for a bit of plunder. He was the god of public speakers, shepherds, athletes. He's just everywhere.
And this table right here just brilliantly illustrates the duality at its core. Because he was the patron of language, he was also the master of lies. Because he oversaw commerce, he also presided over unexpected windfalls and, theft. And because he was the god of travelers and boundaries, he was the only one who could cross the ultimate boundary, the one between life and death. He is a god of the in-between, through and through.
And that role gave him one of his most important but maybe lesser-known titles, psychopomp, which means soul guide. Hermes was the divine conductor, the one who safely guided the souls of the dead from our world to the underworld. He could move freely where no one else, not even most other gods, could go.
Now, a god this busy, this mobile, he's going to need the right equipment, right? Well, Hermes' famous gear wasn't just for show. Each piece was a symbol of his unique power to cross any and all boundaries.
First up, we have the caduceus. Now, you've definitely seen this symbol before, often mistakenly used as a symbol for medicine. But this winged staff with its two snakes winding around it was his symbol of authority as a messenger. It represented peace, negotiation, and eventually became a powerful symbol of commerce itself.
Next, he had his hat, the Petassos. On the surface, it's just a simple, wide-brimmed hat that travelers wore to keep the sun off. But of course, with Hermes, you add a pair of wings to it, and suddenly it's the perfect symbol of his constant motion and his divine job as the protector of anyone on a journey. And of course, the most famous of all, the Talaria. These weren't just any shoes. These were his golden, immortal winged sandals. They let him travel literally with the speed of the wind, zipping between the world of the gods, the world of mortals, and even the depths of the underworld like it was nothing.
You know, what's so incredible about Hermes is that he never really went away. His character was so flexible, so adaptable, that he's evolved and stayed relevant for thousands of years, long after the temples on Mount Olympus fell silent.
Let's just trace this wild journey for a second. In Greece, he was the ultimate boundary crosser. When the Romans adopted him, they really leaned into his role in business, calling him Mercury. Over in Egypt, he merged with their god of knowledge, Thoth, and became the mystical figure Hermes Trismegistus. And he's still with us. The famous psychologist Carl Jung saw Hermes as a powerful archetype for our own inner journeys, a guide between the known and the unknown parts of our own minds.
From divine messenger to a psychological guide, Hermes has always been the one who connects different worlds. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. In our own world of instant messages and dissolving borders, what can we learn from a god whose entire existence was about masterfully, and yeah, often mischievously, crossing every single boundary he could find?